Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Let's Talk CFL podcast, episode number 612. I'm your host, Christopher Jones, coming to you live from Merritt, British Columbia. We're a little short on staff tonight. We have Will McDonald is coming in here with me, and his brother Rick is bowing out of the podcast, and Charles is busy and going away to Edmonton to watch the Lions play this weekend. So he's busy at work. So it's going to be Will and myself, and that's the way things are going to go. We're going to talk about a whole pile of things, including the brawl at the end of the BC Lions game, which was no surprise. It was kind of funny and interesting. But Will, welcome to the show, buddy. How are you doing?
All I'm going to say is two football idiots are better than none. So there you go.
I'm football idiots.
Are better than none.
I don't know if you can call us football idiots, but you know what? Do what we want.
I think we're smarter than a lot of people because this is what I've been.
That's not hard.
This is what I've been contemplating this week.
Okay.
So you have the Calgary Stampeders, okay?
Yes.
Who are doing fairly well this year. Last 2 years, they've won 5 and 6 games.
Yes.
Each season, okay? And Jake Maier has more or less been their starting quarterback for those 5 and 6 wins. Okay? So how is it that the coaching staff in Calgary decided once upon a time that Jake Maier was the replacement for Bo Levi Mitchell? And how would they have decided that Jake Maier would be the replacement for Nick Arbuckle? Because those two gentlemen are the leading passers in the CFL this season. And I understand that Bo had a shoulder issue.
Yes.
But obviously, Hamilton signed him because they thought he would be good enough or he'd be okay. I just don't know how, from what we saw with Jake Maier for 2 years and what we saw last week in Saskatchewan, where he managed the game. He had 170 yards passing, no touchdown passes, and no interceptions. So he managed the game. That's not going to get it done for Saskatchewan, so they better get Trevor Harris back. I do believe he's back this week. But I just don't understand how the Stampeders made that kerfuffle. And you could say Dave Dickinson's decision. Well, I'm sure John Huffnagel had something to do with that decision as well. I just don't get it. Do these people not see what we see?
Well, I honestly believe that when they made the decision to go with Jake Maier, Bo Levi Mitchell was injured with a possible career-ending injury. Definitely not able to play at a high capacity for that season. So they had to make a decision on what to do. And there was nobody else in the quarterback stable. So Jake Maier was elevated by default. The fact that they didn't find anybody else or didn't look for anybody else or just said, okay, this is good enough is unacceptable. As a Stampeders fan, you should not have accepted this. But the point being is that I don't know what the situation was with Nick Arbuckle. Did they send Nick Arbuckle packing at the same time or the year before?
Nick Arbuckle was he was Bo Levi Mitchell's backup, and Bo Levi Mitchell was probably in his 6th or 7th year. So they just let Nick Arbuckle sign somewhere else.
Right, okay.
He wanted to be a starter because the year he left, Bo Levi Mitchell had gotten hurt, and Nick Arbuckle won 5 or 6 games in a row playing for the Calgary Stampeders. So
right.
I understand why they let Nick Arbuckle go, but Nick Arbuckle has been a free agent numerous times in the last 5 years.
Yes.
And I don't understand why the Stampeders didn't maybe try and even last year, because Nick Arbuckle was a free agent after his Grey Cup win. You know, I would think that we knew they were going to have Chad Kelly in Toronto. If they would say to Nick Arbuckle, hey, come to Calgary, you'll be the starter. Just saying.
But this is last year. I mean, they had Vernon Adams, right? They picked him up right in the offseason.
Right in the offseason, yes.
They had their plan in place.
Yes.
So,
yes.
that. And
but how about the year before?
Because Nick Arbuckle told him to pound sand.
Nick Arbuckle has moved all over the place. He was in Edmonton. He was in Toronto.
He was in Ottawa.
I think so, yeah. So, I don't know.
But he may have just, been said, no, I'm not going back to Calgary. You guys were idiots. You weren't good to me. And you know what? I'm not going back there.
And maybe we should thank our lucky stars that Trey Ford wasn't available, because if Calgary signed him, I wouldn't be a football fan anymore.
Well,
anyways,
you might just have to be a fan of another team.
I guess so.
You swapped teams already once.
Yeah, I have.
So I think Trey Ford is a wonderful backup quarterback for Nathan Rourke. Two Canadians, same playing style, not quite the same caliber, but personally, I think that Trey Ford would be awesome in Vancouver. But, nobody listens to me.
No, and I disagree with you. I think Nathan Rourke is a great backup for somebody else, but...
Oh, well, we're going to find that one out, aren't we?
Yeah, yes, we will. Well, mind you, not really soon. Who do they play this week?
Edmonton.
Oh, so you know what? You may lose that argument or you may win that argument. And
I know it's going to be a big one. I'm sure Bobby Ford's going to have fun with me if this goes sideways.
Oh, yes, he will. Wow. Anyways.
Yeah, we're in Edmonton this week. And then the week after, Saskatchewan is in BC.
Yeah.
So we'll see about Saskatchewan. I think that could be the play game.
And you know what, though? The only way you know if your team is good is by playing good teams. Calgary has a challenge coming up. They play Saskatchewan on Friday. The week after that, they play Winnipeg again. And the week after that, they play Montreal. So
correct. It sounds like BC's first 5 games.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll see. Back to back with Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, and Montreal was a shit kicking,
And the difference this time is Winnipeg's gonna have some payback. Gonna want some payback.
Oh, you think?
Because Calgary made Winnipeg look normal.
Yeah.
Especially Zach Collaros. So, anyways, go ahead.
Yeah. It is what it is, and we're gonna have fun. We're gonna see what's going on. I mean, we're football fans. We're gonna watch the games no matter what happens.
Yep.
And everybody says, BC loses, and I get all these shout outs, and I go, I really don't give a fuck whether my team wins or loses. It really doesn't affect me emotionally because I don't care. I'm a BC Lions fan for 54 years. I'm used to losing.
Right. So how many teams have won the big one without losing a game during the regular season?
Nobody.
Well, there's been one in football. I'm talking football in general. There's only ever been one.
I don't know.
And that was the 1972 Miami Dolphins. Okay, they went undefeated and won the Super Bowl. So they are the only team ever to do it. So
it ain't going to be Saskatchewan this year, that's for sure.
Your team's going to lose. I did get a message the other day from our old buddy. What was his name? He was on the podcast very briefly, and he just it didn't suit him. Morgan Tyson sent me a text the other day, and he said, quote, let's see. He asked me if I wanted to come to Regina on Friday because he had an extra ticket.
That was nice of him.
Yes, very nice. And then he said, never mind, just fill the seat. Sorry. I said, no worries. Thanks, buddy. I am in BC for 2 weeks on vacation. I will be watching through, though. Sorry for the loss, but it had to happen sometime. So he says the chirping begins and I love it. I'll take an easy 5-0. So we'll see what happens.
Well, and you know what? Saskatchewan is not a bad team this year. They are playing some good football. Trevor Harris is healthy. They are in the top three in this league, if not the number one team. Right now, they're undefeated at 4-0. So, you have to give them some credit here, and I do. I don't want to just trash Saskatchewan because I don't like them.
Right.
They are a dominant team right now.
Yeah.
And the fact that Winnipeg and Montreal have both lost recently, and Montreal twice, it's hard not to put Saskatchewan at the top, and I have to, right?
Yes, and we did.
And I'm not even doing it begrudgingly. They've earned it.
Absolutely.
But BC was their biggest challenge. They've been playing the bottom feeders of the league, so you have to take that into a little bit of account. They haven't played Winnipeg, they haven't played Montreal, they haven't played Calgary. They played BC with a backup.
Who have they played?
Who?
Saskatchewan. Let me see.
Week one was Ottawa. Week two was Hamilton. Week 3 was Toronto. Week 4 was BC. Week 5 was a bye.
Well, okay, so they haven't played anybody. Wow.
No, and the BC game was with Mazzoli as the quarterback.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, they had Jake Maier, but you know what? Jake Mayer's a better quarterback than Jeremiah Mazzoli.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not. I think
he was in that game.
I think Saskatchewan has a better team overall.
Well,
okay, because it wasn't Jake Maier. Anyways, doesn't matter.
I'm not going to argue with that. Okay.
Let's get on with last week's games real quick. Let's go through the games.
We can do that.
Okay.
First game up was the Calgary Stampeders into the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Calgary jumped out to a commanding 29-6 lead by halftime, fueled by a suffocating defense and offensive precision. New quarterback Vernon Adams Jr. threw the first 2 Calgary Stampeders touchdowns, one to Clark Barnes and the other to Damon Alfred, while Dietrich Mills added a rushing TD. See, this AI stuff is pretty good, eh?
Yeah, not bad.
Defensive prowess. Damon Webb snagged an interception return for a touchdown late in the first quarter, flipping the momentum firmly in Calgary's favor. Then Derek Moncrief added another pick 6 early in the fourth. Quarterback Zach Caleros finished with a respectable 34 of 48 for 288 yards and a late TD to Jarrett Stearns, but wasn't enough to close the gap in garbage time. Okay. So there you go. Significance and aftermath. Calgary's records recorded a statement win, handing Winnipeg their first loss of the season to improve to 3-1. And the win boosted Calgary's Grey Cup odds and underscored their early season resurgence. Winnipeg dropped to 3-1. So they're both tied now, testing their mettle against elite competition heading down to the upcoming bye. So Winnipeg's on a bye this week. Final verdict: the Calgary's balanced attack, combining a sharp running game, efficient quarterback play, and game-breaking defense, completely overwhelmed Winnipeg. A dominant first half effectively sealed the game, marking a significant early season momentum boost for the Stampeders.
That's pretty accurate.
Pretty fucking good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty accurate. Absolutely. Absolutely, it was.
Gotta love AI.
And I wish I could say that game was close. It wasn't even close. Not even the slightest bit close. And I was shocked.
At no point.
I was shocked, amazed, and surprised because if you remember last week, I said on this podcast that I thought Zach Caleros was looking as good as he did in 2019.
Yes, you did. You said that.
I did say that. Well, that wasn't last Thursday night because he did not.
It was not. It was. He played a brutal game.
But he was also running. He was also running for his life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we shall see what
he didn't he run in for a touchdown, or was that the week before?
No, that was the week before.
Week before. Okay.
That was the week before. You know what? The Stampeders, they let Oliveira run a little bit in the beginning, but they eventually shut him down. And the Stampeders, I think with them, what they've said this year is they try and do the same thing to everybody. They try and make everybody one-dimensional. So they try to shut down one side of their game or the other, either running or passing. And in Winnipeg's case, if you shut down the running game and rely on Zach Collaros to pass, you probably have a better chance.
You have a better chance as long as your DBs are good.
Yes. And I kind of assume that on Friday night, they'll do the same thing against Saskatchewan because they have a big running game as well.
They do.
So
They do. They have AJ Ouellette and that other guy, the other new guy.
Yes, they do.
Okay. Anything else you want to add here?
No, I'm good.
Okay, so this was a Winnipeg Blue Bombers 16, the Calgary Stampeders 37, total of 53 points. Everybody picked Winnipeg to win here, including William.
Yep.
Okay, so we all lost 100 points. Charles came up with 36. Will bang on at 50. CJ was 1 point off at 40. Rick got 32 points and Sparky got 36. So it was a pretty close game everywhere around for us there. Okay, so the second game up was the Hamilton Tiger Cats into Toronto to play the Argonauts at BMO Field. And this is how the game played out. Hamilton dominated through the air. Quarterback Bo Levi Mitchell threw for 332 yards and a whopping 5 touchdowns, connecting regularly with his deep threat receivers, notably Kenny Lawler, who hauled in 3 long TD passes. Now, I have been a major critic of Bo Levi Mitchell over the years. I have, no doubt about it. I haven't given him the due that he deserved. And I have to do that now, even if this sounds like I'm eating crow. He has been playing some lights out football the last year and a half. And I got to give credit where credit's due, and it is with him.
And he just surpassed 40,000 yards. Passing.
He just passed 40,000 yards and 100 wins.
Yep.
Toronto's offense dug in. Despite the loss, Toronto managed 38 points, including an early scoring drive and a couple of touchdowns that kept them within striking range, though they couldn't quite slow down Hamilton's aerial assault. Key players was Bo Levi Mitchell, 5 TD passes, 332 yards. His leadership was a focal point of Hamilton's offense. Kenny Lawler pulled down 3 explosive touchdowns, including a 79-yard bomb, earning praise as the absolute monster on deep routes. Toronto standouts, though, overshadowed. Argos made strides on offense with notable plays, yet their defense struggled to contain Mitchell and Lawler. Stats that matter, they're pretty much the same. Combined score of 89 points. Yep. Jesus. Takeaways: Hamilton surges to 2-2 on the season with the most potent offense performance yet. It was against Toronto, okay? So come on. Toronto drops to 1-4, but slowed resilience, indicating potential despite defensive gaps. Looking ahead, Bo Levi Mitchell's hot streak and Hamilton's deep threat dynamics make them a serious contender, while Toronto will aim to tighten up defensively to support their capable offense. That's what I got out of that.
I didn't realize Bo Levi Mitchell threw for 5 touchdown passes.
What's that?
He threw for 5 TDs.
He threw for 5 TDs.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
5 TDs.
3 of them to Lawler.
When has that ever happened?
Exactly. So I'm saying he's playing amazing football now.
He is so. Once again, that's why I'm asking about why did they get rid of him? Anyways, whatever.
Well, I think that this is now, in the beginning when Calgary was such a dominant force for the last decade, and they were through the 2000s, 2010s. I think he just kind of coasted.
Well, I
don't think he actually played to his highest potential, and he just kind of coasted along with a well-built team.
You have often said it's got everything to do with how good your team is. And maybe his team in Hamilton is getting better than it was a year ago or 2 years ago.
He's also picking that team up on his shoulders and running with them.
Yeah, he does have Kenny Lawler on that team now. And he's got the other guy.
100% he does.
Yeah. So, you know what?
But he didn't last year, and he still threw for over 5,000 yards.
Yeah, but he didn't win any games. I don't care how many yards you throw for.
Okay, and we're going to talk about this later, but you look at the two. Hamilton is now 2-2. Yep. Look at their opponents and look at their losses.
Well, yeah.
And we'll do that. We'll do that in a bit. Because I'm going to talk about Hamilton and why we did what we did in the power rankings. And you and I can discuss this. So do you have anything else to say on this game? Hamilton, Toronto.
No, it was actually a pretty entertaining game. For somebody who doesn't know football, there's lots of scoring, and that's entertaining. So it was an entertaining football game.
When you get 90 points in a game, it's got to be exciting.
Yep.
As long as you're not a defensive fan, it's pretty good.
But I kept on saying to myself, how come Kenny Lawler is 40 yards behind everybody else? I don't get it.
Really? Like, come on. Seriously, why is he?
Don't you think you should cover him? Whatever. So,
yeah.
Anyways.
You would think, but they don't do a very good job.
No.
So this was Hamilton 51, Toronto 38, total of 89 points. Will was the only person that picked Toronto to win, so the rest of us picked up 100 points. Nobody had their score even close. So we were zeros straight across the board on our bonus points.
Yep.
The third game up was the BC Lions. And this was an intriguing and interesting game. I'll read the synopsis and then we can discuss it a little bit. Alouette started strong. McLeod Bethel Thompson connected with Tyson Philpott on a 45-yard run, giving the Owls a quick 7-0 lead. Now, this was after Nathan Rourke walked the field and threw an interception in the end zone. So BC started out strong and blew the tire off the little vehicle. BC responded in the second quarter with a powerful 72-yard drive capped by Nathan Rourke's 2-yard run, noting that the game was at 6-6 before Montreal kicked a field goal to lead at 9-6 at the half. Montreal extended their lead to Bethel Thompson finding Sean Thomas Erlington for a touchdown, putting them up 14-9. BC countered before the half with a Sean White field goal, reclaiming a 1-point advantage. I think BC was up at the half. Anyhow, fourth quarter, climactic finish. Key Lions plays. Rourke hooked up with Stanley Berryhill on a 46-yard TD late in the fourth quarter, swinging the lead to 18-7 in favor of BC. Montreal answered with Jose Malto's 24-yard field goal with 28 seconds remaining, pushing the score to 20-18. At that point in time, I threw down my iPad and walked away from the game. 28 seconds left in the game. Montreal just scores a touchdown. Fuck, no lead is safe. I should know better than the CFL.
Football.
A critical 15-yard unsportsmanlike penalty to Pierre-Olivier Lestage on kickoff extended BC's starting position from the Montreal 49-yard line. Rourke delivered a clutch pass to Javon Cotoy with 0.2 seconds remaining. Sean White walked off with a 43-yard game-winning field goal as the time expired, giving BC a 21-20 victory. Post-game fallout. A chaotic brawl erupted post-game amid accusations a BC player entered Montreal's locker room. Both Kimoto Ture and Isaac, fuck off, were central in the figures, and the CFL is reviewing for possibly disciplinary actions, and which those disciplinary actions were handed down today. The BC player was suspended 1 game, and 3 Montreal players were fined. A replay review confirmed the final Rourke-Catoy completion was valid, and the referees upheld the decision. Key performances with Nathan Rourke completed 22 of 36 for 352 yards, 1 touchdown, plus a rushing TD, and engineered the final game-winning drive. It was only 1 play. Sean White, kicker, delivered 3 field goals, including the dramatic walk-off victory of 43 yards. Bethel Thompson finished with 192 yards passing, 2 TTs. Montreal running back Sean Thomas Erlington recorded a 76 yards and a touchdown in his 100th CFL game. BC improves to 2-3, snapping a 3-game losing streak under new coach Buck Pierce. Montreal dropped to 3-2, suffering their 2nd straight loss and their 5th consecutive defeat to BC Lions since 2023. There we go. So I'm not going to make judgment on the BC Lions player. I think what he did was wrong. It was stupid. I'm not going to say in his defense, but his defense was that he went into the wrong locker room, or started to, because both teams are on the same sideline. He mistook where he was going and he went in there. Now, as opposed to somebody turning him around saying, no, you're going in the wrong dressing room, the guy punched him in the head. And then all hell broke loose.
Right.
So 100% he's wrong. He went the wrong place. I understand that there's some defense of honor here. I think Montreal was pissed. They just lost the game on the last minute.
Of course they were.
Field goal, and emotions were high, and it got carried away when it could have been de-accelerated very quickly. But it turned into a brawl. And there was just a melee of players on the sidelines outside of the Montreal dressing room.
Yep.
And I am not going to defend the BC Lions player. What he did was wrong. Was it an honest mistake? I have no idea, and I'm not going to say one way or the other. He got a 1-game suspension. I don't think that he should challenge that. Take the fucking suspension and deal with it. Be a man.
Once again, I really believe it's stupid to fight in football. It's just dumb. It's just dumb.
100%.
Come on,
100%.
guys, really? And I mean, if you start flinging punches at these guys, you're not going to hurt these guys. These guys are too fucking big. Okay? Like, come on.
Yeah.
It's just dumb. Anyways, I'm sure it was a misunderstanding. All I am curious to see is how that game would have turned out if Montreal had had their starting quarterback, because they didn't have their starting quarterback. And obviously, McLeod Bethel Thomas, in my mind, he's on the same level as Mr. Mazzoli in BC as a backup. It's time to pack it in and go home.
Well, I 100% agree with you. Whether it's Jake Mayer, Nick Arbuckle, Bethel Thompson, Cody Fajardo, Jeremiah Mazzoli, none of them should be in the CFL right now. None of them.
Nick Arbuckle is leading the CFL in passing right now. Okay.
On a 1-4 team.
He's still
1-3 team.
Yeah, but Bo Levi was leading the CFL last year on a worse team. So I still think Nick's
I know.
Nick's got some stuff, but I think he needs an offense designed around Nick's stuff. That's all.
I'll tell you what, out of all of those 5 quarterbacks, 5 or 6 quarterbacks I just named, I would take Nick Arbuckle before I would take any one of the other ones.
I agree. Nick Arbuckle has not been the same since he left Calgary, to be honest with you. So, and once again,
when you're in a winning system, why would you leave?
But we go back over the year sometimes. Is it the quarterback or is it the system? Right? So, and that we will
And you're
always
going to win if it's both.
Huh?
And you're going to win if you're both.
Yes.
If you've got a good quarterback and a good system, you're going to win.
Yep.
And I believe that's what Zach Collaros has happened in Winnipeg the last 5 years.
Yeah, but he's still a good quarterback.
I'm sorry?
He's still a good quarterback.
That's what I said. You've got a good quarterback and a good system.
Yes, but Zach Collaros has always been a good quarterback. He is, in my mind, he's like...
You're breaking up. I'm not hearing you.
I said, in my mind, he's like... Oh, my Lord, what was that guy's name?
Okay.
You know that guy.
I don't know whether it's my internet or your internet, but something's fucking up.
It's your internet, because it's always your internet. Did you hear me?
I'm on Starlink. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not that good, obviously, because it's crashed before. So,
yeah, we'll accept that.
Okay.
Okay. So, to answer your question, if Davis Alexander was quarterbacking the Montreal Alouettes, Montreal would not have lost this game, and they wouldn't have lost the game to Hamilton.
But we'll never know. Because we'll
never know, but they would be 5-0 right now, or 4-0 or whatever.
We'll see.
Okay. I have no doubt in my mind that Davis Alexander would have won that game.
But you never know.
And in doing that, I actually picked Montreal to win. Me, BC Lions fan.
Didn't we all?
So anyhow, I'm sorry?
Didn't we all pick BC to win? Or sorry, Montreal to win? Except for Charles?
Charles is the only one that picked BC. The rest of us all picked Montreal.
That's
and I was waffling at the end, because when I made this pick, Nathan Rourke was not going to be the starter, or we had not heard that he was. So, I was thinking maybe I should change my pick, and because Rourke's in there, and I'm going, what the hell?
Yeah,
because he's got the oblique.
When we did make those picks, Jeremiah Mazzoli, I thought, was starting for, or not Jeremiah Mazzoli, the other guy was starting for BC.
Oh, Chase Bryce.
Yes.
Because he was taken for team reps.
So I thought McLeod Bethel Thomas was better than Chase Bryce. That's why I picked Montreal.
And 100%.
So
anyhow, Charles gets the win with 100 points. He got 28 bonus points. Will, you got 24. CJ got 16. Rick got 8. Sparky got 22. Okay, the last game up was the Ottawa Red Blacks, or Edmonton Elks into Ottawa to play the Red Blacks. Is that right? No, it was in Edmonton.
It was in Edmonton.
AI fucked up here. Okay. Edmonton roared out of the gate with a Trey Ford connecting with Justin Rankin for a 45-yard TD on the opening drive. Another 7-play drive later, Ford found Curly Gittins Jr. for an 8-yard TD. Special teams magic, Javon Leake returned a 94 yards for a touchdown, Edmonton's first since 2015. Ottawa responded late with a 6-yard TD from Drew Brown to Eugene Lewis. Then Khalil Pimpleton ran back 97 yards to cut the deficit to 22-17 at halftime. Ottawa kicked a field goal early in quarter 3. Edmonton countered with one of their own. Rankin broke loose for another 74-yard rushing TD late in the third. Teams traded field goals to close the quarter, pushing the game to 32-27 for Edmonton. In the fourth quarter, Vincent Blanchard tacked on 2 field goals, 35 and 35 yards, to extend the lead before Ottawa answered with a touchdown to Andre Miller. Key performances was Trey Ford was 212 passing yards. That's not a performance. 2 TDs. Justin Rankin, 174 all-purpose yards, 2 touchdowns, including that spectacular 74-yarder. Drew Brown returned from hip injury, threw for 316 yards, but couldn't find rhythm early. This was Drew. Didn't Drew Brown just have 4 400-yard games in a row, and this would have been the fifth, coming close to a record, or what this would have been a record, but he failed on that. Didn't get 400 yards.
Right.
Ottawa was flagged 9 times for 118 yards. Edmonton snapped a 3-game losing skid to capture their first win of 2025 season and now sit 1-3. Ottawa falls 1-4. Coach Bob Dice and quarterback Drew Brown noted poor starts, lack of discipline, and execution issues. Bob Dice is the head coach for Ottawa for 4 seasons now. This is his 4th season.
Is it really?
This team is no better than when he took over.
Nope, he's not. They're not. They're not.
I don't know what else to say. This is just a sad state of affairs.
So one of the things that I did see in this game is I finally realized that Trey Ford has learned how to read defenses, and I don't think he's going to lose. I don't think he's going to lose another game this year. Just saying, but we shall see.
You're an idiot.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
But
don't throw a hissy fit on me.
Hold on. In Trey Ford's defense, he did only run for 14, he did only run for 14 yards.
And why?
So he's trying to be more of a drop back passer or a rollout passer.
He doesn't have the skill to be a drop back passer. Well, he needs to run the ball. That's what gives him his power.
Right, but he's got the skill to roll the ball out and throw from different positions, I do believe. So, once again, what's his name? Mark Killam got his first CFL win. Yeehaw!
Yeah, and he got a Gatorade shower.
Yes, he did. So
good for him. I am happy for him.
And I am happy for the Edmonton
fans. I wish
him
nothing but success.
I am happy for the Edmonton fans. Okay.
I just don't see it happening.
Yeah. We shall see.
We'll find out. This week's another test for both teams.
Yes, it is.
So the final score was Ottawa 33, Edmonton 39, total of 72 points. Everybody, no. Edmonton, Charles picked Edmonton, Will picked Edmonton, CJ got Ottawa, Rick took Ottawa, Sparky took Ottawa. So Charles and Will picked up 100 points each. In a bonus, Charles got 0 points, Will got 0 points, CJ got 6, Rick got 14, and Sparky got 4. Okay, so we all anticipated a low-scoring game, or you and Charles did anyhow. So the week turned out this way. Charles ended up with the high score of 364 points. He picked three correct games, where the rest of us grabbed 1 each. I thought I got 2 games. What the fuck you doing, Sparky?
No, you didn't.
Didn't I? I picked Hamilton, right?
Yeah.
That was it.
There you go. That was it.
Shit. Yeah. Okay, so Will was the second best there at 174. CJ and Sparky tied at 162, and Rick hauling in the back end at 154. So Charles is now in the lead with 1826. Will's right behind him at 1794, so you're only 30 points off. CJ's back another 100 at 1682. Sparky's closing up the rear at 1658, and Rick's down at the bottom with 15 and change. Really not relevant. He's so low. He's got to win some football games. Okay, so overall in the Let's Talk CFL Facebook group, in our Pick'em group on CFL.ca Pick'em, Sparky, I'm plugging this now for you. Even though I don't think anybody's going to join now because a third of the season's already gone. Sparky is CJ is in 10th spot. Charles is in 5th. Will's in 4th overall. CJ's in 10th, and Sparky's at 12. Rick McDonald's at 14. We don't have a lot of people in there. I think there's about 30 people that are playing the game. I could be wrong. But yeah. So, William, you're in fourth place.
Yep. Out of 17, I think it is.
Oh, is it
According
17?
according to the chart.
Well, that's all that came up on the thing. I don't know if there's any more.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. And there could only be 17. I don't know. It's actually down a lot because that dickhead Argo fan guy who was on the podcast that one day, he went and started a group in the CFL thing called Let's Talk CFL.
Okay.
And yeah, so kind of messed some people up. They went over to him, and now I don't know. We'll see what happens. So here's what we got for power rankings this week. As you know, we put everybody does their own power rankings. We put them together. Sparky throws them in a spreadsheet, gives them a numerical component, and averages, picks, whatever happens. And this week we have Saskatchewan in first place, up from third. Now, Saskatchewan is a unanimous decision on first place. Everybody in the group picked Saskatchewan to be second place, or first place, sorry. In second place, we have Calgary, who jumped
before you say anything else, can you
Okay.
explain to me what was your decision behind making Saskatchewan first? Because they were in second the week before and they didn't even play last weekend.
Yes, I can tell you why I did this, because I actually put Saskatchewan at first place and I had them in third before. And the reason for that is not that Saskatchewan improved on their bye week. I think Winnipeg and Montreal showed a lot more warts than what we had seen from them before. And so I could not put Montreal or Winnipeg in first place in all good consciousness. Winnipeg or Saskatchewan being undefeated and on the bye just didn't progress up. Montreal and Winnipeg fell back, in my opinion.
Okay, I agree with that.
Okay,
Yep.
Obviously they can't improve it on a bye week, but the teams ahead of them didn't falter. Montreal with 2 losses in a row, and Winnipeg with a loss to Calgary.
Right.
So I couldn't put Winnipeg up above Saskatchewan after that.
Okay.
And Zach Collaros had a shitty game. Winnipeg had a shitty game in Calgary. So
yes,
I did not see any power coming from them. Is it going to, they're on a bye this week and then they're coming back to play Calgary again?
Yes.
Are they playing Montreal? Yeah.
No, they play Calgary again.
So they play Calgary coming off the bye.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's not so good for Calgary.
No, sir.
Winnipeg's usually pretty strong coming off a bye.
Well, and once again, Calgary's at a disadvantage because Saskatchewan's coming off a bye this week, and then Winnipeg's coming off a bye then next week. So if Calgary are to win, they're going to show their stuff. You know what I mean? And if they're going to lose,
100%.
We expect it. So
okay. So the only Winnipeg Blue Bomber fan in this group is Rick, and he put Winnipeg in second. CJ put Winnipeg in second. And the rest of the Sparky, Will, and Charles put Calgary in second place. I'm not going to argue and not disputing that. Calgary is 3-1 and Winnipeg is 3-1, and Calgary just beat Winnipeg. So it is what it is, and that's where it is. So Saskatchewan did end up in second place.
No.
Everybody had Winnipeg or Calgary is either second or third, except Charles. He had Montreal up there in third, Winnipeg in fourth. So Winnipeg took third place. And then there was a tie. There was a tie between Montreal and BC for fourth place. And basically because Will put Montreal down in sixth place. He really, they digressed greatly in his opinion.
Well,
Sparky had Montreal
they've
at
lost.
6 as well.
I was going to say they've lost back-to-back games. Okay.
I'm not arguing.
And yes, I understand their quarterback's not there, but you still got to do it somehow, right? So there you go. That's why.
Okay. So BC took 5th. Fourth. BC is in 4th. Montreal dropped from 2nd position to 5th. Hamilton is in 6th. Now, there's been a lot of kerfuff lately online about Hamilton, who just won back-to-back games against Montreal and Toronto. They haven't won a game outside of their division. They have 2 losses and 2 wins. Yes, they beat Montreal, but Montreal had a backup quarterback, and Hamilton was playing with Bo Levi Mitchell, and he was on fire. So I can't honestly have put Hamilton any higher. I had them in 6th place, although you had them in 4th, and so did Sparky. But I had him in 6th, so did Rick, and so did Charles. So there was definitely a differencing of opinion here between the league and the Stampeders fans on what the Ticats were doing.
Well,
the
you know
bottom
what? Go ahead. Sorry. I just thought Hamilton has played quite good, but why I put them below Saskatchewan, Calgary, and Winnipeg is because they lost to Calgary already this year. They're not going to beat Winnipeg, and they're probably not going to beat Saskatchewan. So I don't know.
Who's not going to beat Saskatchewan? Hamilton?
Hamilton.
Yeah, they're not. So why did you put them in 4th place?
Sorry? No, I meant it the other way around. Sorry. I don't think they're that bad of a team.
They're not.
But and right now, I mean, who did we put? Sorry, just let me see here. You put BC ahead of Montreal, or BC and Montreal ahead of Hamilton.
Yes.
I don't know if they're ahead of BC. And Montreal, they're probably ahead of Montreal's probably ahead of Hamilton, but not without the quarterback. So
exactly.
But once again, season's still young. This is going to change 16 times.
Davis Alexander with quarterbacking for the Montreal Alouettes. Would Hamilton have beat them?
Maybe not.
That's 2 weeks ago.
Maybe not. Or maybe it would be a 48-56 kind of score.
We don't know.
No,
we don't know. But I can't see Hamilton having strength over Montreal long term.
Yeah, well, we'll see. It's hard to say.
Now, we don't know. Is this hamstring injury on Davis Alexander going to keep him out for 10 games?
Right. This is week 6, right?
We're going into week 6.
Coming up, lots of season left. Lots of season.
100%. We're only 1/3 through.
Yeah.
Actually, we're not even 1/3 through, but
no.
21 season, you got to 21 weeks. It's got to be 7 weeks.
One thing I'm convinced of, that by the end of the year, Trey Ford will be a pocket passer and he can read defenses.
Oh, fuck off.
Anyways, go ahead, CJ.
The bottom 3, Edmonton, Ottawa, Toronto. In my opinion, it's a coin flip. I wouldn't take Edmonton out of the basement because of their victory over Ottawa, even though it was decisive. Ottawa, I thought, showed more grit beating Calgary in that rain bomb. But I don't care. Flip a coin. Put them in any order you want. Edmonton, Ottawa, and Toronto are the bottom of the league.
I agree.
End of story.
For sure.
You can't argue that. there's always three at the top, three in the middle, and three in the bottom.
Yeah.
And sometimes the line between the top and the middle gets a little blurry. But yeah, I don't know. Okay. So is this game in Calgary this week or is it Saskatchewan?
Saskatchewan.
Week 6. Let's go over here. There we go. Calgary into Saskatchewan.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, I gotta go find everybody's scores.
Yes, you do. I'll help you.
There is only 3 games.
Is that right?
Yeah, there's only 3 games this week.
Okay.
So I got Sparky's. We got to go back. I got Sparky's got his in here like 28 times. No. Okay. I don't see there's. Oh, I'm in Steven Sparksman thing. That's why I can't find it. Charles doesn't say anything there.
We got to start.
Okay, so Charles has picked. Charles has picked the Riders.
Go ahead.
At 50. Charles picked the Riders over BC, over Calgary. Sorry.
Yes, he did.
Okay, and just a sec. Give me just a little bit of a sec here, and I'll write some down, and then I'll announce them afterwards. Revised Sparky calculator here has got Saskatchewan 57, Hamilton 58, and BC 55. Okay, and I need Rick. What's
Rick?
Rick?
I can tell you right away.
Stamps
58. Yep.
Hamilton 58.
58.
And BC 58.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so let's get over here to Sparky's thing. Sorry about that, people. This was a little bit weird.
We got to get
CFL Pick'em. What's that?
Rick changed his Hamilton 58 to 55 because Sparky already picked Hamilton 58. So Rick is Hamilton 55.
Okay, thank you.
If these guys aren't going to be on the podcast, we got to get them to put their scores in a proper place so you don't have to search for them forever, right? What do you think?
Well, Sparky's does come up to me, but yeah, Charles, they should be sent to me directly in an email, like not in an email, but a direct post, like send me a direct message.
Yes,
to me.
Yeah, to you.
And then I don't have to go hunting for them and look like a unprofessional idiot.
Correct.
Which I am, but that's not the point. I don't want to look like one.
Correct.
Okay, so CFL.ca staff has picked Saskatchewan, 3 of them, and Calgary, Pat Steinberg and what's her name, Hall? Can't read it. Vicky Hall, I think it is, took the Stampeders. So FanDuel betting odds has Saskatchewan at 4.5 with an over-under of 51.5. CFL Pick'em has Saskatchewan at 79%, Calgary at 21. Sparky Calculator has Saskatchewan at 57. Rick has Saskatchewan at 58. Charles has Saskatchewan at 52. Sparky took Saskatchewan. He didn't take Calgary. What the hell?
Whatever.
So what are you doing, Will?
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. Calgary 60.
Calgary 60. Okay, and I am going to tough one. I'm going to go with Saskatchewan. I think they're going to win it, and 54 points. Trevor Harris is back, so it's not going to be Jake Mayer. And they're coming off a bye, so they're well rested and had a good chunk of looking at film to see what's going on with Calgary. I think Saskatchewan's going to take this one. Just my personal opinion. yeah, I should do an AI assessment of what's going to happen or a prediction for this game. I'll do that next week for our games. That's kind of a cool idea. Okay, that's that game. The second game of the week, and that's a Friday night game. There is no Thursday night game this week, so we have a Friday night, a Saturday, and a Sunday game. Why fuck do we have a game on Sunday? Exactly. Please explain to me why we have a game on Sunday.
No reason.
No reason. Absolutely stupid. Okay. So CFL.ca Pick'em has this is Ottawa into Hamilton. Matthew Cause is the only one who took the Red Blacks. Everybody else has taken the Ticats. FanDuel has Hamilton at 4.5 with an over-under of 54.5. CFL Pick'em has Hamilton at 92, Ottawa at 8. Sparky Calculator has Hamilton at 58. No. Yes. Sparky's at 58. Rick is at 55. And Charles has taken the Ticats at 60. William.
This is
in Hamilton. It's Ottawa in Hamilton.
Ottawa in Hamilton. Oh, Lordy. I'm going to say Ticats 61.
61. Charles at 60. I'm going with Hamilton as well, and I'm going with 54 points. I don't disagree that Hamilton is going to score some points. I'm just not totally sure Ottawa will. This is going to be really interesting because this is the Kenny Lawler versus Gino Lewis game. And Kenny Lawler has so far this year come out and kind of flipped the bird at Ed Hervey in Edmonton about saying there's no superstars in this league because Kenny Lawler is definitely turning heads with his performance out there, where Gino Lewis is non-existent. Even in his game against his former team, Edmonton Elks, he didn't show up to play football. So I don't know what's going on there. So that's kind of what's happening on the second game, which is Saturday afternoon, I believe. I didn't actually look at the time that it's going to start. Saturday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. The Calgary-Saskatchewan game's at 6 here, so it would be 9 in the East. And Sunday is also a 4 p.m. Pacific time for the BC Edmonton game, which is the final game. And we'll get over to Sparky stuff here. Believe it or not, Jamie Nye and Christina Constable have taken the Elks. The other three took the Lions. FanDuel has BC at 3.5 with an over-under of 50.5. CFL Pick'em has BC at 67, Edmonton at 33. Sparky has BC at 55. Rick has BC at 58. Charles has BC at 51. CJ is taking BC at 54. Sparky originally wanted BC at 54. I told him to fuck off. Actually, I didn't. I just kept asking him questions about what I was doing. So he had to figure out what was the matter there. And he went BC 55. William, this is up to you. You taking the BC Lions, or are you going to go with the Edmonton Elks?
Where's it at?
It's in Edmonton. Charles will be at the game.
Right. He's going to the game. Why anybody would travel to Edmonton to go to football. Anyways.
But you have done it.
It was the Grey Cup, dummy.
You still
Anyways, I am going to say, because I'm convinced that Trey Ford can read defenses now, I am going to say Edmonton 50.
You might be in sole position of first place.
Or sole position of last place, one of the two.
Well, you're the only one that took Calgary, and you're the only one that took Edmonton.
That's
so
correct.
You're loyal to the Alberta teams here.
Well, no, I don't normally pick Edmonton, but I'm not going to pick BC because then you guys will lose for sure.
Of
right?
course. Yeah.
So I'm
Without
being
question,
nice
we
to you
will.
guys. Okay, so there you go.
Yeah. Okay, so that's kind of what we did there. Ugh. Okay, jumping back over to the agenda. What do we got here? Saskatchewan Roughriders quarterback Trevor Harris sends mixed messages on hit that caused head injury. He got hit in the
What?
head.
What is he complaining?
Yes, he's whining.
Why?
He's saying that it was an unnecessary high hit and that he shouldn't have been.
Well, I'm thinking that if he's worried about getting hit in the head, and you're not supposed to hit him in the head, I think he should play football without a helmet. And then we'll see if he has a concussion or not. So, I don't know what to say about that.
When the other defense tells you they're about to do something and they do it, maybe you should believe them and that they did it on purpose. It was an unfortunate situation that the linebacker got hurt, and I know the guys were watching, wanting to do something about it. I think it was just one of those things where they wanted to get even for their guy. So,
Oh, so this had to do with that illegal block on that receiver, or sorry, on the D-back.
the
And
linebacker got taken out.
he suffered a serious knee injury.
That's correct.
And the next play they smacked Harris.
Yes.
I didn't know that he got a concussion from that. Because did he not play the rest of the game? Yes, he did.
Yes. He did not go into concussion protocol. He did not sit down for 3 plays. He didn't do anything, none of that. So he pulled a Chad Kelly after the game. He said, I'm concussed.
Okay.
There was a roughing the passer penalty assessed on the play, and he was fined afterwards for a high hit, I believe.
Yep.
So it is what it is. And I don't
I
think
really
that the
like
team.
I really like Corey Mace's attitude in this article. It says, I like to live in reality. That's football, Mace told the media last week. It's a violent sport and it gets aggressive and temperatures flare. Pretty good explanation for me.
It's football.
Yeah.
That's why girls don't play it.
Yep.
Okay, so Trevor Harris has now missed a game of football this season, so he's not playing a full season. Is this his only injury for the 2025 season? Saskatchewan should consider themselves very fortunate. I'm not betting money on it.
Once again, and we all know this, that concussions are exponential. It's going to take less of a hit this time for him to get another concussion. So the chances of him getting hit again in a season is pretty good.
100%.
So.
Okay, so Jason Moss expects Davis Alexander to return for the Montreal Alouettes after the bye week. That's good news for Montreal. It's good news for the league. I like watching him play.
Yeah.
So how the fuck did this get on the agenda?
What?
Thousands. I think it was 2,000 people. Thousands paid $50 to secure season tickets for the Halifax CFL team. Some wonder where the money went. Is this still happening?
No, they're talking about the money they got 2-3 years ago, aren't they?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to know when the article was written.
I don't know. Charles put that on, didn't he?
It's a CBC.ca article written on July 7th, 2025.
Okay.
And it says at least 6,000 people paid deposits for the Atlantic Schooners season tickets when hope of a team in the city were still alive. Some people say they never got their money back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, aren't we just an idiot? $50. Spend more than that in a bar in the weekend. Come on. Stop whining, you bunch of putzes. CFL looking into discipline from the melee. Well, they did that, and we've seen that already. So let's go up to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, add late Tyrone Jones to the Ring of Honor. Well, that's cool. Why the Calgary Stampeders win over Winnipeg was bigger? It was a big thing.
Well, yeah. Let's talk about Tyrone Jones for a minute, please.
Sure, we could talk about Tyrone Jones. What would you like to say about Tyrone?
You guys don't know about Tyrone Jones. You might not know about Tyrone Jones because I was a Bomber fan. I know who Ty Jones is. He played in Winnipeg 1984 to 1990. He won 2 Grey Cups with them. He was their premier edge rusher. He still remains the franchises, and this is who's the defensive end we have in Winnipeg now? What's his name? The big guy, the tall guy.
Willie Jefferson.
Willie Jefferson. Tyrone Jones still remains the franchise's all-time leader in sacks with 98. No other player in team history has had more than 59. So he was a killer player. He was fantastic. Died a couple of years ago. I do believe he had a brain tumor, and he passed away quite young. I would say he was in his 50s. I just wanted to mention him because he was a great Bomber, and I'm glad they're adding him to the Wall of Honor. So he died in
2008 at the age of 46.
Inoperable brain cancer.
Yeah.
So he was a great football player. There's no doubt about it. So
correct. He was.
That's all I want to say about that. Go ahead. Blip.
Okay. Why was the Stamps victory so big? Bigger than people think?
Because number one, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Everybody thinks the Stampeders were going to suck this year. And it still remains to be seen. Okay. They have 3 wins, which is halfway to all the wins they had last year in the 6th week.
They only had 5 last year.
Yeah, they only had 5, so it's more than halfway. Okay.
Yeah, more than halfway.
And they've
Calgary sucked the last 2 years in a row. Nobody expects them to turn around and be a contender the next year. Nope. Improvement, yes. I could see them going from last place, finishing 5th or 4th, or maybe even getting a playoff position or the crossover or something else. Right now, they are 2nd place in the league.
Yeah.
I did not expect that to happen, nor did you. And Sparky certainly didn't with the trashing of the DBs and linebackers and everything else that he did this year, off season.
Well, I knew they would be better for 2 reasons. Number one, they had a quarterback. Okay,
they couldn't get any worse.
Without even seeing Vernon Adams play, you knew they had a better quarterback just for what he did in BC last year. Okay.
Yes.
Number 2, it's pretty hard to have a worse season. Okay, pretty simple.
Yeah.
And
unless you're Edmonton.
But I am shocked and amazed because they have made wholesale changes in their coaching staff and in their playing staff. And so far, so good. I think what they did was they cut the losing attitude out of that team. They sent them away. We don't want you here. You're losers. And everybody in that organization, and I watch their interviews daily, and they're all saying the right things, and they're all saying the same things. So to me, that's a team. Okay. Now, whether they have the talent to do it, we will see. But I mean, the beginning of anything is you got to believe. And so far, and one of their philosophies is every week is season starts over. It's to win one game every week. That's their goal. So let's see what happens.
100%. Now, this has been a very unusual CFL season to predict and even just to watch. I mean, we had 5 backup quarterbacks playing in 1 week.
Yep.
That is unheard of. I mean, that's just how can you predict what's going to happen in games when you don't know who's going to be your quarterback and whether or not they're going to actually be able to perform.
Well, and
Very challenging on our capacity and on everybody else's.
And I think how you pick them is you ignore the quarterback and look at the rest of the team. Because I'm sorry, these backup quarterbacks are so bad. They're not going to win. They're not going to win the game for you.
No. So if you're playing a team with their starter with your backup, odds are not in your favor, regardless of how good your team is.
Not even close.
Like, what would Calgary do right now if they had to rely on their backup quarterback to play Saskatchewan?
PJ Walker has never played a game in the CFL. So
we don't know what would happen. He might be amazing, but if he was truly amazing, he would be starting.
The first play of the first touchdown pass of the Winnipeg game last week, or of the Winnipeg game, someone rolled on Vernon Adams' leg, and I thought, oh God. But apparently he's fine. So
he is a tough son of a bitch.
He seems to be, but he is, and I didn't realize this until I've watched him in Calgary. He runs with reckless abandon. He doesn't care. He tried to run over. He's not a very big guy. He tried to run over somebody last week in Winnipeg's game just to get an extra 2 yards. Yeah. And I think they should talk to him about that because he's a guy who seems to have a serious injury on a regular basis where he misses 6 or 7 or 8 games. Right? So.
And he also makes very, very bad decisions at times.
Yes.
So I like him. He's one of the nicest individuals you'll ever meet. He's humble. He is all about this sport. He's an ambassador for the sport.
And you know what? He's all about his team as well. I didn't realize that about him. But yeah, they say he's a leader right from the get-go on this team.
Yeah. And he was like that in BC when he was brought in because Nathan Rourke was injured, right, back in 2022.
Yeah.
And he said, it's Nathan's team, and I'm here to help the Lions as best I can. Well, he is gone. And, he did that. And Nathan goes down to the NFL, and Vernon Adams steps up. Rourke comes back. I'm not going to say he stepped down. He actually was injured. So it's not like they had much of a choice.
I tend to wonder if that was a problem last year.
What?
When they did bring him back, Nathan Rourke. I mean, yes, I understand Vernon Adams was injured, but I could see that was Vernon Adams' team because he's such a magnetic person, and he's a real team guy. There's no doubt about it.
100%. When Nathan Rourke came back, the Lions stopped playing.
Yeah.
Okay. And the team had to be made Nathan Rourke's in the offseason because it wasn't last year. There was a lot of problems with the dynamics of that team in the second half of the season.
Yeah.
Well, you can't start out 7-1 and end up 9-9.
Nope.
Something fucking went wrong.
Yeah, and for me, the biggest problem was the coaching staff. So that's just me.
There was a lot of things the matter with all sorts of people in there.
Yeah. Okay.
So Nathan Rourke and Trey Ford are nearly even heading into week 6 meeting as the most outstanding Canadian.
Okay. So
To
what do
me,
you try?
that is the tallest midget. Okay.
Not going to
I,
disagree with you.
I don't think this award should be awarded.
Well, I hate when they
I
start
think it's racist. It's
I hate
discriminatory.
when they start differentiating between like Canadians should be the best.
Yes.
Well, you're not competing against Canadians. You're competing against all the other quarterbacks in the CFL, and a lot of them are American. So who gives a fuck if there's 2 Canadians playing in the CFL? And who's better than the other one? I don't.
I don't care. So if you want to do the most outstanding player, or you want to do the most outstanding quarterback, or you want to do the most outstanding lineman, you want to do the most outstanding running back, I'm all over that.
Yeah.
But do not give me a most outstanding Canadian.
Don't put Canadian in front of it.
It's ridiculous. And I'm guilty of this, and I'll be the first one to admit that I'm wrong. I'm not wrong. I was right, but it's a meaningless stat. Is that last year, or in 2022, Nathan Rourke broke 5 CFL records, actually broke 3 CFL records, and then the same one twice more. Well, one of those records was the most yards in a game by a Canadian quarterback,
Uh-huh.
which was 450 and then 488. Well, it didn't even come close to the 714 yards that Dunnigan has got in the CFL. So until you pass Matt Dunnigan's 714, don't talk to me about how many yards in a game you have. That's fucking irrelevant. I couldn't care less. Most yards by a Canadian quarterback. Who cares? Okay. Now, yes, I'm a Nathan Rourke fan, but let's get real. He's a Canadian. So what? He's a quarterback. And I don't care whether my quarterback is Canadian American or Swahili, as long as we're winning football games.
Yeah, and once again, we can go to stats, and Trey Ford and Nathan Rourke are the 4th and 5th respective passers in the CFL. Trey Ford is ahead of Nathan Rourke by 25 yards.
Nathan Rourke's played 2 games.
Yeah, I know that. So
how many games has Trey Ford played?
I don't know. 3, 4?
4.
4? Okay.
1 and 3, aren't they? Or 1 and 4?
Yeah, they're 1 and 4. They just won they're 1 and 3, I think.
They're 1 and 3. They played 4 games. They've had a bye. So he's played 4 games. Nathan Rourke's played 2 games. And Trey Ford is barely ahead of him in yards?
Correct.
Okay, so how is this nearly even? Do yards per game.
Well, here's something interesting. Oh, this is really interesting. Rushing yards.
Okay, speak up.
Rushing yards.
Yes. Nathan Rourke is leading.
Yeah. I would have thought it would have been Trey Ford.
And Ford's not running the ball this year. And that's what makes him
not very good.
Not very good.
We're only talking 45 yards, but once again, 2 games as opposed to 4 games, right?
Yep. And he's still not as good as. Now you got to realize that, okay, and I'm going to correct myself here. Nathan Rourke played a 3rd game, but he injured his ankle in the 1st quarter and then was taken out in the 4th quarter. So I'm challenged by saying anything in that game was real for him.
Yeah, but Bobby Ford told me that Trey Ford was way better than Nathan Rourke in lower levels of football. So I'm shocked that Nathan Rourke's ahead. Anyways.
You're shocked because you're listening to Bobby Ford.
Sure. Yeah. And just so you know, So yes, you're right. So Nathan has played 3 games, 2.5, 2.25, and what's his name has played 4. Now, what do you think that business was? Did you watch the Edmonton game the other day, or not?
Yes.
What was
Yes.
that business where they kept on sticking Cody Fajardo in there?
I don't know.
And
I
and
I
are
don't I
they
don't know.
already losing confidence in Nathan Rourke? Because
And
understand that Mark Killam has nothing invested in Trey Ford. Okay,
nothing.
all he wants
Now
to do is win football games. So
now Trey Ford was 7 for 7 at the point when they put Cody Fajardo
yes,
in.
he was.
So
Yes, he was.
why
Would you
where's the
ruin a
logic
guy's
there?
rhythm? Why would you ruin a guy's rhythm like that?
I don't know.
I don't know
Um,
either.
Paul Apple said that he's done that in the past as a coach, where he said, at this point of the game, I'm putting in this quarterback for regardless of what had happened before, I'm putting him in to change the pace. And the only thing I can say about that is maybe that's why Paul Lapalisse isn't coaching.
Well, I could say if the pace wasn't good, yeah, you need to change the pace. But at 7 for 7, the pace is pretty good, and you shouldn't touch anything.
You cannot pull a quarterback. I mean, I was a goalie, okay, and I kind of take that position, quarterback, goalie. As first off, they're all egotistical asses, okay, within reason. They have to be because it's their position. Okay, they're the team leader. The team, how they play the game is how the team will follow. Okay,
Yeah.
whether you're the goalie or the quarterback. If a goalie is pulled out of a game, even if he's not playing really well, he does not take that well.
Right.
Okay, he does not take that well. And I remember a game where Rick Campbell left Vernon Adams in after his 6th interception in the Toronto game. And at a certain point in time, you have to take that quarterback out because he's second guessing himself every time he throws the ball now. You can't leave a quarterback in there the same way you can't leave a goalie in there after 5 goals.
Right.
Um, But when the fucking quarterback is 7 for 7, you don't mess with his mental state.
No.
I mean, that's like taking a pitcher out that's throwing a no hitter. You don't do that.
No.
You can't do that. That's just dumb.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know what the reasoning was to put Cody Fajardo in that game. I cannot tell you what the
well,
logic
we've
is.
never known what the reason was to put Cody Fajardo in any game, but that's beside the point. Um,
This is very true.
the other thing I was going to mention is I don't understand a couple of things, and we talked about how crappy the backup quarterbacks are.
Yes.
So in the Hamilton game, when Hamilton is up by all those points, why is Bo Levi still in the game?
I don't know.
Calgary
I don't
game,
know.
Calgary game was the same way. Why is Vernon Adams still in the game? They put the
I
backup.
cannot answer that.
I
Now,
don't
if you
I don't
remember,
get it.
if you remember when Calgary was very dominant and Bo Levi Mitchell was playing very well,
Yep.
he was never pulled out of a game. He played
Correct.
the entire game.
Correct.
And he said, I am playing the game. This is my game.
Once again, if I'm the if I'm the coach and I'm in charge, fuck you. You coming out of the game. It's that simple.
100%. I agree with you. Now,
Okay.
and that's why I don't believe Matt Dunnigan's 714 yards in one game is ever going to be broken. Because the coach has to be a fucking idiot to allow a quarterback in there for that long to break that record.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if
If the quarterback is I don't know.
I don't
Unless
know
you're
if they're
throwing.
I don't know if they're even aware of where the quarterback is at during the game. So it wouldn't, like, if you heard that he was close to it, you might leave him in. But I don't even think they pay attention to those kind of things. So
No. Well, I'm sure there's a stats guy that's always got his mouth in his ear about what's going
maybe,
on out there.
maybe.
But I agree with you. I'm the coach. Don't
Yeah.
argue with me.
Well, but
And
does that go back to this touchy-feely, politically correct kind of thing now, where the inmates actually have a say? You know what I mean? So
I
maybe
don't agree
that's
with it.
I don't agree with it either, because you're going to be in trouble if you keep the quarterback in and he gets injured and he can't play for 6 weeks. The head coach is going to be the guy who eats the shit on that one.
Yeah.
So I don't get it, but that's just me. That's just me.
I don't get it. Put the backup quarterback in, let him get some reps. That's what he's there for.
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing. Let him get some reps, because that's what he's there for, because he might have to go in if the other guy gets hurt. Pretty
Now, please
simple.
tell me that after watching the brawl at the end of the BC Montreal game, that Montreal was not pissed off that they lost that game. Most teams are not happy that they're losing a game in the fourth quarter. If you are dominating a team, they are going to take liberties with your star players. That is how it happens. That's how it works.
Yeah,
Why would you leave your quarterback in?
correct.
Why would you leave a star receiver in? Why would you put in your backup running back? Why have him pounding up the middle and roll an ankle when you're up by 30 points?
Right.
Makes no sense.
No, it doesn't. But there's a lot of things that make no sense anymore. So,
And yeah, I understand that these players are chasing records and they're chasing titles and awards and everything else. But there is only one award in this sport that matters.
yes.
Only one.
Yes.
It's the Grey
Yes.
Cup.
Yes.
You only get that by winning games. You only win games by having healthy stars.
Yes. I agree. Not
And as a
superstars, because there's
coach,
none.
it is
Not
your
superstars, because there's none
responsibility to
in the
do that.
CFL.
Yeah, Geno Lewis superstars. Anyhow,
Anyways,
okay. Anything else you want to do there, William?
anything else on the agenda that you wanted to talk about? Let me just look. Was there something else? No.
No, we got the suspended guy, Nathan, and most outstanding Canadians. We
Oh,
got
you know what?
storylines to watch.
Let's talk about this really quick. Apparently, Sean Lemon is allowed to reply back to the league to have admittance.
Oh, yes.
Which is a good thing.
That was July 4th.
And I think Montreal should do that, because they will be better with Sean Lemon, as long as he's stayed in shape, which it's been.
Well, I understand BC is talking to him.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, I've been told that BC is talking with Sean Lemon.
Okay. Cool.
And I like Sean. I always have.
Yeah,
I
but
would not be offended to have him on my team. The man plays with passion.
Yeah. But before he can go to BC, he's got to go to Toronto first. And then Toronto has to trade him to BC. So
his contract's up.
That's the way they've done it forever. So anyway.
His contract's expired.
Yes, I realize that.
He's a free agent.
I'd like to see it with the CFL for another year. I haven't heard any news out of Calgary this week if Big Hill is playing on Friday. I would think if we haven't heard,
I haven't heard either.
He's probably not. So maybe.
No, you would think it would be news.
Yeah, you would think so. So we shall see. But I don't think they need him right now.
Calgary's playing some good football. Can't dispute that.
we'll see what happens, because Dave did say the main reason he brought Adam Big Hill in was for the games Labor Day and on. So you know what I mean?
Leadership in the locker room. I mean, Big Hill is there. I mean, that's what he does.
But
he
I mean,
a different dynamic.
They do have Moncrief, and he is also a leader, and they do have that D-back that scored the pick six last week, who came from Ottawa. He's been in the league for 5 years. He's been a big leader as well. So they have some veterans in every facet of their game. So we shall see.
So anyway, one of the things that I did point out is that it is 3 wins and 9 losses for the East Division versus the West.
Correct. Which we haven't had that great of a record the last year or so, or last 2 years. And now this year we're just killing everybody. The West, that is.
And it's back to normal.
Yeah, it is. It is. We knew it would change eventually.
But it's, I mean, Edmonton lost 1 game. Calgary lost the game. And that's it. Why is there 3? Why have BC lost 3 in the division. Winnipeg lost 1 in the division. It's actually only 2. It's only 2. It's not 3.
What do you mean it's only 2?
Edmonton lost a game,
2,
and so did Winnipeg. Did Calgary, sorry.
So did Calgary, so it's 3.
No. Winnipeg didn't. Winnipeg lost the game, but it was in their division.
Right.
Winnipeg lost to Calgary.
So who else?
That's it. I only see 2.
Got to be another one in there. They're probably not that stupid. They'd make that mistake. Saskatchewan hasn't lost.
BC hasn't lost to an Eastern team.
Saskatchewan hasn't lost. Winnipeg hasn't lost except to Calgary.
Yeah.
Who else?
Calgary lost to Ottawa.
Yeah.
BC lost 3 games, 2 to Winnipeg and 1 to Saskatchewan. And Edmonton's lost 3 games, 2 of them in the division. So they lost 1 game to an Eastern team. That's it. So it's actually only 2.
Really? They don't usually make that mistake.
How did I make that mistake? I don't know.
No, I said they don't usually make that mistake.
I may have to correct that.
Yeah, okay.
What's that?
They don't usually make that mistake.
Yeah.
I heard the number was 3 as well.
Well, I don't see it. I mean, you know, when you do the standings here, it has the team's record. They played 5 games, won 3, lost 2. This is Montreal. And look on the far right, it says in their division, they're 2-1. So they've won 1 game and lost 1 game in the Western Division.
Who did Hamilton play?
Hamilton lost 2 games to the West, and they won 2 games in the East. Okay? Toronto has won 1 game, and it was in the Eastern Division. They beat Ottawa, didn't they?
Yes.
They've lost 2 to the West. And Ottawa has won 1 game, and it was not in their division, so they beat Calgary.
Right.
So it's only 2.
Okay.
I'm going to have to go in there and change that. Because I put a post up about it.
Yeah, you did. I remember seeing that.
Okay. So I think that's going to be it, my friend.
Sounds good.
This has been Let's Talk CFL podcast episode 612. I've been your host, Christopher Jones. I've had a hoot talking football with Will. It's always combative. We get along well. So most of the time we don't get along at all, but that's beside the point. I don't give a fuck.
We're old.
Watch football. There is only 3 games. We're going to enjoy it. Calgary, Saskatchewan, Ottawa, Hamilton, and BC in Edmonton. Bobby Ford, watch the games, okay? Watch your son play football. Maybe you've never done that before. I don't know. I don't know what kind of a dad you are. He thinks he's a
Don't
football coach,
say
high
that.
school football coach, but
Jesus.
you know,
Oh my Lord, you
I don't know.
can't say that, Christopher. Oh Lordy.
I can't say what.
Bobby Ford, I'm sure you're a great dad, but watch football anyways. Hey everybody, watch football this weekend. Of course, Calgary will be tied with first place in the West by the end of Friday night, just so you know. Go Stamps.
That would be it. That would be cool. That would be very cool if Saskatchewan went 3-4, or sorry, 1-4.
Well,
Calgary is 4-1. 4-1.
So Saskatchewan has not gone 5-0 since 2008.
Okay.
So
don't expect them to do it this year. Okay, it's a Calgary victory.
We'll see.
I picked Saskatchewan.
I know you did.
I did. I did
Believe,
pick Saskatchewan.
You gotta believe.
I gotta believe. I gotta believe in what?
In Calgary. You gotta believe, baby.
Oh, I'm not a Calgary fan.
Gotta have some faith in the vag.
and I'm gonna give a shout out to Don Moore. Okay. Don Moore is a Calgary Stampeder fan, and he's very abusive, especially to me.
Okay.
But we seem to be getting along, and everything is respectful, and we're going to have fun. But he asked where we saw the podcast, where he could watch the podcast, and I told him that it is on iTunes, it is on Podbean, it is on Spotify, it's also in YouTube. So that's the only place that you get to see our pretty faces made for radio.
Yep.
And we'll see you next week. And Charles, I don't know, is he back next week or is he gone the whole week?
I don't know. I know I am gone next week, but I will still be on the podcast on Wednesday night live from Panorama, BC.
Cool. Excellent. Okay.
I've already told my wife to bring her laptop, so we're all good.
Hopefully she remembers. And then we'll
go ahead.
Maybe I can make a run out to the Okanagan. We can sit around and drink ice water together, since we both don't drink.
Yeah, I've lost lots of friends because I don't drink. So, what can I say?
You don't. Yeah, you're not going to lose me because you don't drink. Do you play golf?
No, I've tried really hard.
Why are you going to Panorama then?
Sit around the pool.
Okay.
And drink ice water.
Okay, buddy, you have a great week. Enjoy yourself.
Okay, man.